Good morning, traders and investors. Welcome to Tuesday's edition of Benzinga's Pre-Market Info, brought to you by OptionsHouse. Joe, I bet you thought I was going to say welcome to Monday's show.
You're actually right. I really did think you were going to do that. And I was just waiting to give you a verbal lashing and saying, "Joel, you screwed up again."
Okay, and what
I
did
would have said it was Monday's show if I was doing the intro. It totally feels like Monday.
that's what
Totally feels like Monday.
that's
I
what
honestly, just when you just said Tuesday, I was like, it is Tuesday.
that's why
So
they
I'm glad
pay.
I wasn't doing the intro. I'm glad I wasn't doing the intro.
So what, Joe? What did you do on your day off?
I watched Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh, okay.
Don't
And,
tell anyone that I have a bootleg copy of it.
okay, that's good
Uh-oh.
to say to our 987,000 listeners.
I'm not saying where I got it from.
How was it?
It was very good, actually. It was nice. First off, in the comfort of my own home, it's a lot easier to, obviously pause if I have to go to the bathroom because it's a 3-hour long movie. But I thought it was really great.
Well, you could wear your diapers. Your depends.
Well, but no, that's only for movie theater attendance.
Dennis, you saw that movie too, right?
Yeah, I loved it actually. I think honestly, Leonardo, holy cow, he was awesome in that role. He's always good, but man, he was at another level. He really put on a show. That whole one scene when he's on the drugs and he's like so drooling all over himself and he's convulsing on the ground. We don't want to give too
You
much of
mean
the
when he
movie
tries
away,
to drive home?
and then he tries to drive
Totally fine
while
though. Didn't even nick the car. It's crazy.
it didn't even nick the car. We'll have to see. We don't want to give too much of the movie
Oh yeah.
away, but I liked it. I wish they would have maybe focused a little bit more. Like, it's not that much really to do with the stock market, obviously. It's more just to do with all the party, on the money that they made from the market. But they do that very well.
And did you get active on Twitter on something about the movie? I was hearing you and Joe talking about that.
Yeah, well, actually, I wanted to go do a little bit of research afterwards. After watching the movie, I want to look up this Jordan Belfort guy. And then I was reading, and there's actually this really good article here, which I could tweet out to our listeners here, or I can actually just put in the chat there. It's Meet Jordan Belfort, the real Wolf of Wall Street, and it's got his story on like where he is today on a personal interview, and it was great. And it's funny, I tweet stuff out and usually get 3 or 4 retweets or something. I tweet this out, I get like 68 retweets, 98 favorites because it's to the general public more than anything because everybody's saw the movie and then they want to talk about it. It's funny when you tweet little stock market specific tips. We're going to such a niche market that obviously don't get as many retweets, but when you tweet something like this on general market or the general, or not even general market, just a general public, it gets that many retweets. I was shocked. But
It's well, you have a lot of followers though that are from the market, so they retweet it out, and maybe they have followers that are non-followers
all
of
it
the
takes is
market.
just to get outside your, like, I would say probably 90% of my followers are probably from the market. I think I have 1,750 of them. I'm triple D trader.
Popular guy.
But and once you get outside that, circuit, and if it gets retweeted by a couple other people that are following outside the market, that's where something can kind of take off, a tweet.
Dennis, did you know that Jordan Belfort had a cameo in The Wolf of Wall Street?
Where and what was he? Look
Oh.
at you. Look at Brett.
Oh, hey, here I am. It's Tuesday, everyone. He actually introduced Leo at the very end of the movie.
Oh, is the motivational speaker rally
Yeah, he's
thing.
like this is he's like one badass or something like that.
Ooh, Joe, did you hit the button on that one?
I was like a direct quote.
Oh, okay.
Just quoting the movie.
Oh, the soundboard doesn't let us bleep out profanity, so we still have to stay a little bit conscious of that.
Okay, now we're done being Siskel and Ebert. Are you guys too young to know who Siskel and Ebert are?
Come on.
Could Brad shaking his head no? Oh, okay.
The stuff that comes out of your mouth sometimes.
Speaking of the markets here, we're trading up 6 points, 1843 high, 1830 low. Dennis bumping up against the all-time highs here. You and I were we were Skyping on Friday, and I said it's time to put the strangle on, man. This market is winding up to go here, and is this the day? Is this the day we take out that 1846.50?
I don't know. We're up there. We're bumping up against it. The stock market just does not want to go down. It doesn't matter. And the earnings have not been that great this year so far. So far, we've heard from a lot of companies, and we've had quite a few disappointments here, but they keep shrugging it off. They'll go to the stocks that aren't disappointing, or they'll go to the stocks that aren't reporting. There always money seems to be moving, not out of the market, but just rotating into other sectors. We talked how the drugs were leading us out when the financials were a little bit weak last week, and there's always something picking up the slack. So I just think the path of least resistance is still higher, although we are bumping, and you got to respect the resistance up here at 1846.
Will you help me figure out what strangle to put on here? So I
Where do
can.
you want to go? So you're looking at the spies? Is that what you're looking
Yeah,
at?
let's go look at the spies.
Let's look at the option premiums on the spies. So you
I'm
got one, and I don't know if I'm a big fan. You've got it. You can't just flat out buy a strangle because they're paying too much for the volatility here. Even though the VIX is low, it's still too much. I think if I'm doing a strangle, you want to put out and sell, at least do a call spread and a put spread with it as well. Sell it, if you're going to buy a call, going to buy a put, well, sell a higher call and sell a higher put, and try to get some of that volatility back. But if we go out here, how far do you want to go out? We're at like 184 on the SPY right now.
time wise, I want to go out. I want to go out to at least June. I want to give myself some time.
All right.
And I'd already been in the money if you would have helped me put it on Friday. I mean, you were messing around. But let's say we come back down to 184 today, and I get to put on a 187 call and a 181 put. I should probably just not even put on the put. Just double up and buy the 187.
That's what you do, and then it's the wrong way usually. And you're Mr. Bear. You're not going to put on the put when you're usually Mr. Bear. You're going to be so angry if the market tanks and you don't put the put side on.
So what would I need if well, we're coming back down. The market's not open. We should probably price these out at the end of today.
It's hard because the options aren't open yet. I can tell you where the option price is closed on the June expiration.
You know what? Let's figure this out after the close and talk about tomorrow's show. And
okay, we'll set it all up.
Yeah.
But just briefly, because I think some people are probably interested now, like the 187s, you're probably looking about 450 on the Junes. And if you're looking, what do you want to do? The 181 puts?
Yeah. Yep. That's what you're supposed to do.
181 puts are probably about $6, I'd imagine, at this price. So, flat out, if you had to buy the call and the put, you're looking at about $11 a premium.
Right.
So that's quite a bit of premium to pay.
Yeah,
so.
but then I need a June move. I need 11-point move in the S&Ps by June. You don't think we can go?
Well, I know you need an 11-point move in the SPY.
11-point move in the SPY, right?
Yeah, 11. So you're talking about the equivalent of a 100-point move in the SPOOs. So it's a lot of premium to pay. That's why I definitely think you got to buy and rate some calls, higher calls and puts to get some of that premium back. Because if you went out and wrote like the 190s, you'd get $3 back right away. So then you're only paying $1 on the call spread side, like 187 to 190. So there's different ways to play it, but I think I just don't like flat out buying calls and not rating something higher against it.
Maybe we could get Mr. Ruhana again and help us, use some of that knowledge from implied volatility, to get a prediction of where the 6-month move would be in the S&P and actually use a little knowledge of putting on option position instead of, throwing darts at the wall.
Yeah, that might be a thing to do here too. But let's move on to some of these earnings stocks, Joel, because there is a ton of big guns reporting right now. And Johnson & Johnson, J&J, just reported earnings here about 20 minutes ago. $1.24 versus $1.20, 18.4 billion versus 17.95 billion. The guidance is a little light actually, 575 to 585. Estimates are up at 585. So not sure, but the stock is trading higher here anyways. I decided to take a shot here. The all-time high is 95.99. I was just nibbling here in the pre-market, just keep an eye on it. I just sold 100 shares only so far. Yeah, so that's what I do. When I don't know what to do, usually I'll sell like 100 shares and I'll keep my eye on it. So because you can watch it in your P&L and you can watch it move. So I'm still thinking that might be the resistance area for today. I think there's probably somebody kicking around at the point at $96.
Yeah, the pop here is not on a ton of volume. You did get to 96.14 though. That would be the negative that you did take out.
How many shares traded up there?
I have in that bracket, that whole 15-minute bracket, not very merry. Let's see here. You had a total of 15,000 shares traded in that bracket, so not a whole lot.
Not a ton of stock.
No. So you did get over 96. Now you come back under that level. You are opening into the all-time high. You are opening in resistance here. That possible trade is shorting against that number. Also, this one, if you want to be hands off, which obviously you haven't done, you maybe get that just pop over 96 off the open, and the
Yeah.
longs, get flooded with all that stock, and then it goes to 96.07, and then, nosedives 40 or 50 cents. So that's another possible scenario. One that you don't want to see. I know you want to see it go straight down. You got all the way to get back down to 95.17 to fill the gap. Doesn't look like that's going to happen today. Nice volume in the issue on Friday, too. People are getting ready ahead of earnings. So 95.99, former all-time high.
I think that's the resistance there too. That's the level that I'm going to keep an eye on here. And obviously, I've only got 100 shares, so I don't really want to see it just die here yet. I'd like to obviously get more stock on here if I'm going to play it that way. It does take out 96, though I do get concerned. I never like to be short stocks that are making new all-time highs. Maybe I would give it the 10 cents, like you said, just to make sure that it's not going to just shake out everybody, hit the stops at 96, and then tank after that. But I think if this takes out 96, I don't want to be shorted.
Okay.
Verizon reported earnings here as well this morning. They're good, 66 cents versus 65, 31.1 billion. Holy cow, man, they got sales. 31.04 billion estimates. And the stock is trading up about 50 cents right now, 48.86. It went out at 48.35.
Initial spike when the news came out got to 49.05, but quickly have pulled back down under the $49 level. Looking at this issue, not a lot of 40. I mean, you did have a high at 49.07 going back on January 8th, but that just doesn't look like the major resistance to me. The major resistance looks to be up another 30, 40 cents. You get up to the 49.33, 49.35 area. That was
They're lining up.
yeah, that's right. I'd say, and it hit that area what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different times right in that area. So I think you'll see some sellers at the 49.07, but the real resistance is that 49.35 level.
What about AT&T with the sympathy move here? It is trading up 30 cents right now at $34 even. I'm looking at that 34 level. That's pretty big on that stock.
Stock's been kind of sleepy lately, hasn't it? We haven't.
Well, when ex-dividend.
Okay.
These things, Verizon and AT&T both kind of went ex-dividend there about 8-9 days ago, and we always know when those stocks go ex-dividend, they tend to be weak afterwards. AT&T did not disappoint again. I mean, this is the ones, statistically, if you're liking the stat arbitrage, holy cow, man, this thing, every time that thing goes ex-dividend seems to go down. And if you look at that AT&T chart, I can tell you right now, you look at the chart, you can see the gap in the chart. The gap in the chart is the dividend, and it was straight down another $2 or $1.50 since then. It has tried to climb back, but the ex-dividend date, it was 34.60 was the high that day. We're still quite a ways away from there.
Yeah, there's a day where people got caught.
Oh yeah, if you took that dividend home, you probably didn't get out.
Yep, you didn't get home, and then they just probably just kept buying more and buying more. 34 is a huge level. Last three highs, 34 even to 34.08. I don't know if I'd want, usually short it the first time going in that area, but if it comes back up through that 34.08 level, can clear it. Minor resistance at 34.25, and then major resistance at 34.60. But you're getting a nice setup here in AT&T. Hasn't been able to trade over 34 though. Someone has a little piece there. Probably some in the book. Yep. Probably some in the book as well.
Big level. Travelers Group, TRV, that was trading quite a bit higher earlier this morning. It's kind of giving back the gains here now. And here it's funny. You look at some of these earnings and it's like, it's like a wishy-washy and the stock will rally like hell on it. Here's Travelers. Looks like they just blew the numbers away. 268 versus 217. 6.74 billion versus 5.46 billion. Stock pops. Where did it pop to?
You don't even want. You're going to fall off your chair.
Where did it get to?
90.50.
Come on. Bring up the pre-market chart. I got to see that. You got the pre-market chart up there?
Yeah.
Bring that up. That's absolutely nuts. So it gets up to 90.50, and now it's given back the entire gains on 23,000 shares. This thing's only traded. So not a ton of volume. You got to watch it in the the pre-market. You think, oh, it is a good report, and you think maybe it is worth $3 or $4. But if you're paying that $3 or $4 right away, sometimes funny things happen, and stocks can turn on good reports as well. We saw that with Goldman Sachs last week. Goldman Sachs blew the numbers away, ended up closing the day down. So here's Travelers, blew the numbers away. Good start for the stock, but it's not looking that great right now. It's trading flat. 86.70, only up 20 cents.
Wow, this is about an interesting chart if we've had on the show in months here. Because a lot of times, we talk about, you had your wicked sell off in December. You found support this 86 and a half level, rallied all the way back over 90.50. If you were using your 90.71 and didn't get there, that was the high of the first of the year. And then it sold right off, right back to that support. And if you can't call that major support, I don't know what
Oh.
is. Yeah, 86.42 closed on the low. And then we talk a lot of times when a stock sells off hard into in a report or earnings or something like this and pops up. There's a lot of people caught long in the stock, and they'll use that opportunity to get out. Well, now it got all the way back up there in a heartbeat. Now they're getting it right back down here at this major support level. What happens if this thing doesn't, it should, according to the charts, this should immediately turn around and rebound. But what if it doesn't? I mean,
Oh, man.
what's going to happen to that thing today?
If that thing takes out 86, that could get ugly. Because
Look
even
at
go
that.
further back, Joel, look back in October and November. Not
Yep.
only was this the lows in December, this whole 86, and the lows this year down 86.26, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lows from October to November, almost at 86 on the kisser. That level is absolutely enormous for this stock to hold. It just jumps out at you. You can look at that, you bring up that chart and look at it for a split second, and 86 jumps out at you. So that's the level that this stock must hold today. That breaches that, and imagine it breaches it on great earnings. What are you thinking if you're long this? It can breach, support on great earnings? Or what's going to be my catalyst going forward here? And the stock blew it away, and they didn't rally it. So 86 has to hold. If it doesn't hold, it's not good for this company, not good for the stock.
What's its closest peer?
There's a whole pile in that industry. So is anybody exactly like Travelers? Probably not. But you can get into like the all states can go there. I mean, it's obviously insurance. So, but Brent, what's your opinion on this one? Which one would be the closest peer for Travelers?
Let's see. Let me pull
I mean,
my.
it's not AIG, right? No.
It's related, but I'd say AIG is a little bit different.
Chubb?
Maybe like CB's probably going to maybe like AFG.
Yeah.
AFG was one that I was sort of thinking. Maybe like WR Berkeley, maybe.
WR Berkeley, WRB? Is that
Yeah,
the-
WRB.
That was a good guess on that one.
AFG, WRB. Maybe
Ooh.
HIG.
Look at
If you want to go that route.
Hey Dennis, look
Yeah.
at this.
Which one are you looking at?
Let's look at this Chubb chart. Look at this.
CB.
Yeah. Look at that thing.
Yeah, that's been weak. Wow.
Yeah. Wow. I think this is a big day for the insurers here with both of these issues sitting on major support, it popping off a good report and then coming back down. I mean, that's an ugly looking chart for a market that's making new all-time
Really
highs.
is.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, some of these stocks have not been participating. This is definitely one that's not been participating. Made the new highs really on the year up at $95 and kind of been drifting down. 90's been big for Chubb, and it breached it on Friday. That would have been at 89.59. So now 90 kind of becomes resistance. But keep an eye on Travelers. It's going to be your leader. You can see right on the Travelers report that Chubb did pop up to 90.50. So they were trying, but now it's offered at 90.10. Still trading at $90 right now. Just 100 shares just ticked by there about 20 minutes ago. So very little volume on this, only 1,100 shares. But keep an eye on Travelers. If you trade any of these insurance companies, Travelers probably be your leader.
Wow, that's the most we've talked about the insurance sector in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I
Let's
like
move
I like
on.
the
That's
Allstate
enough talking.
commercials. I like the Allstate commercials. Where that guy like falls off the truck and everything. Do you ever see those Allstate commercials? Do they
I
have
don't
those in
know.
Canada? Do they have?
It's the one where the guy's acting like he's a tree branch, right?
Oh yeah,
And
all
he's,
those other ones.
I'm gonna
and he
fall
acts
in your
like
car,
different things.
wham! And he's got a.
Weird.
Or is everybody
Is
everybody insured by the government in Canada? You don't have private
Come on.
insurance, or you see?
Actually, I usually watch Detroit television, so I'm watching more Detroit media than anything. Being in Windsor, we have one Windsor television station and like all of your Big 10 Detroit stations, basically. So pretty much on my entire media that I watch is pretty much Detroit, so I'm Americanized. So I probably have seen those commercials. I just don't watch a lot of commercials because I DVR a lot of stuff too.
Okay.
So if I'm watching TV, I'm usually DVRing something, or I'm watching a hockey game and I'm not paying attention to the commercials. So I'm bad. I'm not the best person to market to, because I always sit. I'm not watching the commercials. I just don't pay attention to them. Like even when I drive and I'm looking at, a lot of people look at billboards and looking at stuff. It seems like I just don't pay attention to that stuff. I might read it, but I don't process it. So I don't know what that is. I think I'm always just playing in my own brain a little bit, so I'm not reading actually
Well, there's
what
really
the
there's
media.
there's really not that many billboards on the 401.
Oh, making fun of me again. It's from the lodge all those years. There isn't hardly any billboards on the 401. Maybe it's a Canadian thing. Maybe you just can't market to
Probably
Canadians very
illegal.
well. I don't know what it is. Oh, illegal. Yeah, we have government regulation for everything. I'm not sure if it's on marketing or not, but maybe it just doesn't work as well on Canadians. I think we're kind of just sleepy in the mornings and we're driving, but we're not really realizing what we're doing. Halliburton, HAL, also reported earnings, and it is trading up a buck 10 right now. 90 cents versus 89. 77.64 billion versus 7.56 billion. HAL getting a lift of a buck here right now.
And breaking out here, you did have a high at 41.43. You hit 51.43. You had a high at 51.36 on Friday. That is a big move up. You did trade higher earlier in the session. You traded all the way up to 51.95. So potential breakout here in hell. This just, I just keeping in my mind, and I think this was on Friday. Didn't Schlumberger have
You
some
betcha.
good, yep, have some good earnings too? And I know it moved around a lot initially. Went down to 88, but that ended up breaking through the $90 level. So sympathy move here. I mean, they does have news out on it, but you know, not fading this breakout here at 51.60.
Yeah, and Schlumberger there, I believe, got an upgrade of Credit Suisse too late Friday, so after the bell actually. So Halliburton is rallying, and SLB is actually up 81 cents here, or 80 cents right now, trading at 91 even. Full disclosure, I actually am long a little bit of
No
Schlumberger
way.
too, but
Why? Because on the Hell News or just
no,
taking a.
I bought actually it got upgraded after hours. And I was like, well, they're not really pricing that upgrade in yet. So, because I literally could buy it flat after hours. And sometimes when you have an earnings day and then it gets upgraded, it doesn't have much impact. But I was like, I'll take a shot. So I bought 300 shares just for funsies. And I took them home over the weekend. And I just sold a couple hundred at 90.72 pre-market. I still got 100 shares left, but
You should.
that's just
Yeah,
playing around.
you should have waited for the 90. Got way below 90. Oh, above 90.26. Wow, another breakout. And they're saying you're in a
Yeah, it's
lot of
trying.
a lot of air in this thing up to 92.70. But
So you want me to hold till 92.70 on that last
no,
100? Is that
no,
what you want
no,
me to do?
no,
No.
no, no. I don't know. There's a lot of air in there. It's already up 80 cents and had a big move on Friday. So we'll see if it's exhausted the longs yet. We'll see what happens off the open. If you get follow through 91, if it stays up there in the pre-market, fine. If it starts to dip below 91, I think you got a ways to go to get down to what was yesterday's high, or Friday's high was 90.41. So need to get to 90.41 to fill the gap.
Delta DAL 65 cents versus 63 cents, 9.08 billion versus 9.02 billion. Beaten on the top, beaten on the bottom. The stock is flying here in the pre-market. We are up at 31.90 right now, closed at 31.07. The high of the move has been 32.30. What's the high of the pre-market?
High in the pre-market for Delta's 32.30, right on the
Oh, so
kiss.
got right to
Yeah,
the resistance there at 32.30.
but I don't know. Buying the stock up, 80, 90 cents, hoping it to go to 32.30. Little bit of a stretch here. I mean, it's a pretty thick stock. I'd be more inclined to see what happens if it got up to 32.30 than trying to buy this thing off the open.
What about the other airlines like Southwest? Are they LUV? Looks like they're popping up here this morning too. 21.65. They just ticked up to close at 21.22. So man, look at these charts of these airline stocks. You realize these things have been flying. These things are all sitting up there near 52-week highs.
Well, the business is good. You can't complain about the stock price here. 22. What's the high of the move here for?
21.98.
Yeah, I mean, let it ride up to there, and if you have them long on.
Yeah, and probably some resistance up there. I mean, we always talk about the whole numbers, and that's a big whole number, $22. Especially when I see a high like 21.99 or $22, just like on the J&J we were saying this morning, the 95.99. Whenever you see a high just under that big whole number, pretty good chance there's somebody sitting at the point, and got the opportunistic guys, the high frequency guys, all leaning on him, which makes it put in the high near in the 90s. So 21.98 is probably going to be resistance in the 90s if that guy is up there at the point. AMTD also reported earnings. Man, a lot of earnings from a lot of different sectors here today. 35 cents versus 33 cents, and 752 million versus 734 million. So actually blew the revenue numbers away. And here's another stock. I guess when you're up at all-time highs in the market, a lot of individual stocks are up at highs there too. And Ameritrade here is up another dollar again, 33.46 after closing at 32.41.
Former high 32.54 blew that away here with the numbers. We're even trading higher on the session. Had made a high at 33.74. Pulled back here. Looking at the weeklies and the monthlies, I don't think you can find any resistance in this thing. So use that pre-market high 33.74 as a parameter. But buyer beware here. Very, very light volume on this pre-market move.
Yeah, huge. It's very late volume. Only 750 shares here have traded. So, but it is priced fairly tight. 33.46 the best bid, 33.56 the best offer. So
What's
it looks
the
like
size?
those
What's the
800
size?
shares are trying to discover the price all on their own.
What's the size? 800 by 800?
500 by 100. There's another 1,000, 33.57. There's another 100, 33.64. So, I
Nah,
mean, it's probably going to open up. Those are pretty decent numbers. So I think, it's probably in the
I'd be a
ballpark.
lot more apt to offer the 133.63 than buy 1,000. To be buying the thing at this level. I think you can get it cheaper during the regular session.
You know what other stocks have been flying? I was just looking at those education stocks. Ever since Apollo reported there just a couple of weeks ago, APOL. Check out the chart on Apollo. Check out the chart on ESI, which is ITT Tech. Check out the chart on DeVry, DV. All these things have just been on fire, man. They are flying. So ESI was up another $3 or $4. I don't know if there was news on it on Friday, but it closed up and traded up at 45.27. Man, those things have been hot.
45.27. Yeah, that thing gapped and went on
Must
Friday.
have been. Was
Yeah.
there news? Must have
It
been.
was. I'm looking at a Bank of America upgrade on Friday.
Okay,
That
so
would
that's
have
what
done
was
it.
leading us higher.
Yep.
Wow. That thing's just been on fire. We do have earnings from another one in the sector. EDU is reporting earnings here. New Oriental Educational and Tech. 6 cents. They were supposed to lose 2 cents. So reported a profits of 6 cents. Slight beat on the revenue, 208.3 million versus 207.58 million. That's not that great though, because a lot of these other education stocks were really blowing the numbers away. And that's just a slight beat. I'm going to tell you where there's some big major resistance on this one, and it's up there at $35. There's an institution sitting with 100,000 shares on EDU. So that's going to be absolutely enormous. Anytime you get up into the high 34s here, I think there's probably going to be resistance, because that's just a huge order for a stock of this size.
What's the symbol on this one?
EDU.
EDU, and it's a China
New
distance.
Oriental Education and Tech Group.
So that
It's an education stock.
in China though.
I don't know where. Anybody know where they're at? I think so.
Yep, Beijing.
There you go. So it's not completely related, but it's been marching. I mean, they all kind of are related. If you look at the charts, setting up there near highs too. So it did report earnings here this morning. I'm just telling you, from an order flow perspective, $35 with 100,000 shares. Man, that is an enormous order. This thing's traded only 4,300 shares in the pre-market. To be able to shoot through 35, going to be real tough sledding up there. So I think major resistance up there in the higher 34s.
Okay, what else?
The EDU, that definitely is education related, but I think that was like one of those reverse mergers, Dennis. So I feel like people play that sort of more as like the China reverse merger than specifically on education. Just a heads up.
Okay, that's interesting. So they did report here though this morning, so keep an eye on their resistance up there in the high 34s. BlackBerry moving up here this morning. You can say, why is BlackBerry moving up? Well, you know why BlackBerry is moving up? It's up 8% here this morning. And, if you go to your headlines, you don't really see much. Well, Canada was open yesterday. So the Canadian markets, Toronto was open
Oh, they do
yesterday.
that. They do
They
that.
do, and I'm kicking myself too because I should know that. Being Canadian, always these, Canadian, these stocks that are really popular in Canada. When the U.S. markets are closed, they always seem to rally like crazy in Canada because you have a lot less liquidity probably out there. You don't have anybody arbing the two exchanges back and forth. We know BlackBerry probably, even despite being a Canadian company, probably almost the market as leader is still in the U.S. markets for the stock. And when the U.S. markets are closed, liquidity is probably a lot less, and you can see these ridiculous pops. And that's what happened here on yesterday when everybody was obviously not trading here for Martin Luther King Day. In Canada, they were trading, and the stock was popping 8%.
985 pre-market high. Do you think they're just gonna whack it back down then? You think it's just a false rally here, a false Canadian illiquid rally, or you think this has got legs?
I've seen this before. I've seen them knock them back down before. And obviously, we trade a lot of stock here in the pre-market in the
Wow.
U.S. markets now. So that's telling me it has a little bit more than, it's not like it just got up there and they're knocking it right back down in the U.S. It's traded 1.3 million shares here this morning. So it is trading a lot of stock up here in the 980s. But I wouldn't be surprised we struggle here up, obviously, at the big hole number 10, which
10,
can be
yeah.
huge psychological. And if we start to look, if we open up, let's say we open up like 980 or something at 930, and we start going down 975, 970, I wouldn't be surprised this cascaded down and gave back half of those gains or something. I don't think there's no way in hell we see 908, but I wouldn't be surprised to see 940 or 950. I don't think this is going to be one of those gap and goes, not over here. I think this is going to be one of those where a lot of people are like, oh, it's giving me, especially if I was long over here in the U.S. and, I wasn't really paying attention yesterday or not being able to sell the stock, and you look at it in the Canadian markets that it's up. Now it's trading up here 72 cents. Sitting on some nice gains here. I think
J Dot's fading us here. He says there was news on BlackBerry yesterday.
What was the news?
Brent, we'll go to our old trusty top news analyst on Wall Street, Brent Slava, with the Slava report.
Let me dig. Let me dig.
We'll let
dig.
Brent. We'll let
Who
Brent
thought
go
this
dig
stock
into
would
that one.
ever get
J-Dot.
back to double digits, Dennis? Who thought the stock would ever approach double digits again?
I didn't. I thought, when it went down to 568, we were saying, it's everything, obviously, and we saw this before with Hewlett Packard when it looked like it was cascading to zero, when Best Buy looked like it was cascading to zero back in 2012. Stocks do have short squeezes, and they obviously was a little bit overdone. Everybody was leaning the wrong side. We got into early December, and the stock started to turn around. Remember, we were saying, well, you know what? There could be a squeeze here for a while. Well, this is still a squeeze. Man, this has really been a good one because the stock's popped basically 60-70% since those lows that the stock made back in December the 10th of 544. So if the shorts are getting squeezed, they really got squeezed hard on this one. But that's how all rallies start, is with the short squeeze. The first people to buy are the people that are covering the shorts.
And who's the big axe on Wall Street? I think they jumped all over the NQ Mobile. They're a big. It wasn't Muddy Waters, but there was a big firm last week that's notorious for nailing stocks on the short side. Actually came out last week and issued a buy recommendation on BlackBerry based on the same factors that we're talking about.
Are you talking about, is it Prescience Point? Is that the one you're talking about?
Who came out last week and said this stock they upgraded it?
It was Citron.
Citron.
Yep.
Citron, yeah. They must have been over there buying in the Canadian market yesterday because, this stock has moved up.
Actually, the tweet from Citron on Friday was, why shorts have it all wrong on BlackBerry.
Wow.
And maybe what J-Dot was talking about, I'm looking at a BGI report, which is definitely like the source on BlackBerry, saying that the company won a contract
Look at J-Dot.
with the U.S. Defense Information System agencies.
He's already got it in the chat. Maybe we should just go to J-Dot. Can we get you a headset and a microphone? You're all over that. Great job. But now, double digits. Look at the pre-market high and see if Dennis's theory comes to fruition here and the thing pulls back.
If there's news on it, things do change, though. But I think you're going to run into resistance up here in the whole 10 area. I don't know if it sees double digits today. Maybe it does. Maybe could be one of your whole setups there, Joe, where it takes out the 10, goes up to like 10.06, and then pukes. What do you think?
I think I'd like to see when this company reports earnings next time. When
are they due? Brent, when they're due next to report earnings? We'll let Brent hunt that down, actually, get us the earnings date on when
How about... Well, they reported their Q4 of 2013 on March 28th, so put it around there. Let's say...
Long ways away.
Let's say likely the last week in March.
Really?
Oh, wow,
Wow.
that's
The
a long
old
ways
the old
away.
Canadian accounting system.
I'm not even gonna respond.
Okay. What else we got? Well, this also I wanted to talk. You mentioned that about Best Buy, and you had a
Yes.
tractor beam going on in that thing on Friday, right at the $25 level.
Was for a little bit. We talk about that high frequency tractor beam. Basically, that's just something that I call it. It's not like a technical term or anything. I just kind of named it that. When you get a huge institution bidding at a level, and then the stock all of a sudden it gets stuck in what I call like this high frequency tractor beam, or you can call it opportunistic traders, whatever you want to call it. But basically, there was a huge bid at 25 bucks, a couple 100,000 shares sitting there. So everybody's leaning on that. So they're buying at 25, just above 25, even in the sub pennies above it, or 25.01, and then they're turning around and selling stock 25.02, 25.03, basically just scalping a couple cents, leaning on the 25. So what happens is the stock actually can't, it struggles to go lower because of the big 25 bid, struggles to go higher because everybody that's buying ahead of it is throwing out offers. So it just thickens up and basically trades nowhere. And it did that for about 10 minutes in there, where it was really chopping around and then just sat at 25 and did nothing. You can probably see it on the chart, where it just kind of sat there for a while and didn't do anything. Eventually did take out the 25 and then moved lower, but it was stuck there for a while, just as those HFT scalpers were sitting there leaning on the 25.
For those of you looking for a short-term turnaround here, a short-term bottom, you had a low on Friday, 24.41, 24.43 close. You're getting a little bit of a pop in the pre-market. Nothing to write home about. 24.77 high here. But see how this let's see how this 24.41 holds up. You're trading you know 20 cents above it, come down, see if you could put some kind of double bottom in here or some kind of formation to lean on. I was looking at the weeklies on this over the weekend, and that makes a lot of sense here. And 23.30 was your low back in May of 2013. So the bloodshed could continue here in shares of Best Buy. Actually, we did buy. I bought Lisa a camera for there over the weekend for her birthday. Of course, I brought the wrong one. We had to take it back. Did a little cost.
I always do that too if I buy anything.
Did a little cost comparison at Costco. Costco didn't have the product. Went back to Best Buy, pulled the trigger. They were very nice to us, so I'm upgrading Best Buy on a short term,
You're
on
upgrading because you had good service.
customer satisfaction.
Where are you downgrading them again if it takes that low 24.41?
I see. No, I'll give this. I'll do.
You're gonna give it a little bit.
I'm
You
gonna
think you
give it.
can
Yeah,
see 25 back above
this
25?
one you buy it here, you give it a buck. I mean, it's got to start. I mean, if you've been short this thing and
You love picking those bottoms,
I
don't you?
know, I know, I know. I'm,
He's a bottom picker, that Joel. And eventually he gets the bottom. He'll eventually get it. Just like in this market, when he's calling the tops in the market, eventually he's gonna get it
I
here. It's just a
haven't, I
matter.
haven't been, I haven't been getting this stop right though. I haven't. It just things just kept on going. So, switching teams here and buying just the
You
187
you
calls.
always hated that Best Buy too, Joel. Remember last year, a year and a half ago, you were telling, and you were right on it for a long time. I remember being up at $25 and you were like, Amazon's eating their lunch and this thing's going at single digits. And it went all the way down to $11. You look like a genius. You wrote that article on
Let's
Seeking
see.
Alpha, and
Yeah.
the stock fell like 50%. You remember how much heat you took? It was like at $25, and Joel writes an article on Seeking Alpha basically arguing that Best Buy is going a lot lower here, and that was after it had already moved down from like 40 to 25, and you were arguing that Amazon was eating their lunch and it was a showroom for where Amazon, it's just a showroom for Amazon basically, and the stock fell 50% after that. So all that heat you took, you were right. But then all of a sudden the stock turns around in 2013 from $12 and runs all the way to 40, which I don't think
Yeah, I
anybody
don't
saw
think. No, I
coming.
didn't call it. I called it Best Buy or Best Sell.
Yeah.
Yeah, people call me un-American for writing that article.
Yeah,
They,
you took a lot of heat for
yeah,
that. That was
that's
back in
so funny.
2012.
People you write an article like that, and you just throw out opinions, and people call you every name in the book. But
Because they own the stock and they hate seeing that. What do you mean it's going to fall another 50%? I hate you for that. When you put an opinion out there, sometimes people obviously, you're going to get some people liking you and you're going to see some people hating you and arguing with you immediately, especially if their money's in it. When money comes in to something, everybody seems to have an opinion.
what I wanted to also bring up, and I should have brought this up on Friday too. Speaking of all these dogs that are rallying, look at Alcoa. It had that rally,
Oh,
and then
wow.
they crushed it off earnings. Right? They took it down under the $10 level. And now look at this thing. It's back over 11. Hit 11.53 on Friday. It's trading up again in the pre-market here.
On fire.
Is there any kind of is there news on this thing? Or I mean, look at that. Right after earnings, they crushed it, and then it turned around and all the way back up. It must be the aluminum they're putting in those Ford F-150s or something.
JP Morgan upgrading the stock here this morning, raising the price target to $15. The price target was at
Wow.
9. So that's what's propelling it here again. But man, this is unbelievable here. Here's the stock. Got up there, reported earnings, fell under $10 back to single digits. Everybody forgot about it, had it for dead. Not so fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up days here basically in a row, or at least 6 days with higher highs and higher lows. And this has been an incredible reversal here for Alcoa and the stock where it continues to march here. So despite having the poor earnings there 6 trading sessions ago, the stock's up like 20% since the lows there. It's crazy.
It hit 1166, okay, in October of 2011. October of 2011. So, maybe if you've been holding on for that long time, see, I can bring up some charts and make like you can pull this one up and say, "Wow, is this thing looking bearish?" But then you pull up the monthly on this thing, and you're thinking, "Holy smokes, I can get in at $12 and I still make money." I mean, this
Oh,
thing
the
is,
stock was up like $44 back. When was that? Back before the financial crisis. Like
yeah.
2007, 2008, it got up to 48.77. So long ways to come back. I don't think you're seeing that. That was when aluminum prices were a lot higher here too. I mean, aluminum prices got crushed and Alcoa got crushed, and that's pretty much the end of Alcoa. But it's coming back. I mean, some of these dogs, we saw it with Best Buy in 2012. It looked like it was dead, and then obviously went from $11 to 40. I don't think Alcoa can do 11 to 40, but I think Alcoa could continue to rally here a
Any
little bit. I'm a buyer of pullbacks on Alcoa. A
any
buyer of pullbacks.
any sympathy plays here with the Alcoa?
That's the thing. Like there used to be a lot of different ones, but a lot of them are out of business now. I remember like in Canada, there used to be Alcan used to move really well with it, and some other aluminum plays, but there's not a ton. I mean, you can always say like a Freeport Mac Moran, but they're a little bit diversified. They're not a pure Alcoa, but or aluminum. But they do have some. They're more copper and gold though. But Brent, you got any pure plays on
Did
aluminum anymore? There's just not a lot. I mean, the price dropped so much. A lot of those companies either went out of business or merged. Any other pure plays?
What's again? J Dot. He said he heard that Alcoa and Nimbus, it might be a private company, cannot keep up with the auto demand, and he heard it on Wall Street Journal radio. So hey, you talk about supply and demand. They probably been stockpiling that aluminum for probably 5, 6, 7 years, and it cornered the market here. So with more aluminum going, talking fundamentals here on Benzinga's
Wow.
pre-market info. Wow.
Dennis, real quick, I was gonna say there's Century Aluminum that is CENX, and there's also Kaiser Aluminum that one's KALU. Those are a couple that I sort of pair closely with Alcoa.
CENX is interesting. That stock's
Century
been flying
Aluminum,
too. Yeah.
Kaiser Aluminum. I got a bit of breaking news, though. I don't want to cut off your guys' discussion, though.
Go
Give it
ahead,
to us.
man. Breaking
What's
news.
All right, so check out the chart on Dow Chemical, DOW. CEO Andrew Liveris just appearing on
Wow.
CNBC. He is highlighting a significant position from Third Point's Dan Loeb. Places that position at around 1.3 billion. That would be Third Point's largest position. So we
Wow.
have shares of Dow up about 4 or 5% right now.
The old
45.15. We're just ticking up near all time or near 52-week highs here actually. 44.99 was the old 52-week high. We're trading above there right now. So this stock is moving.
the old Midland, Michigan company here getting a spike off the news of Dan Loeb. What he's buying the company here? No, I thought when you first came up with that news, I thought it was going to be that they're spinning off something into the company into like 3 different parts, then the stock goes up like 15, 20%.
That
But
would be a good call.
45.89 now. That's what you hit, and you have fallen off that level like a rock here, back down to the $45 level. Another pretty thick stock here, Dennis, and you get that kind of pop here in the pre-market. Anybody had any kind of offers out there got done here. What is that island high that we had here in the issue? That was at 44.81. So now that we're trading above that, I would use that as a minor support point. going really long term in this thing. It's all time highs for. Was it higher back in the 90s?
Yeah, in 2007, 2008, we got in the 47s and 48s, so we were higher back in the day, but this is multi-year highs. We're getting like 5, 6 year highs for the stock.
December 2007, 45.50 was the high. So if you've been holding on for that long, what do you think, Dennis? You think this thing closes above 45?
I think you got to let this digest here a little bit. We trade a lot of stock here in the last few minutes. 895,000 shares here now, trading lots in the lower 45. So trying to price this thing around 45 bucks. I wonder if there's an institution sitting at 45 because you had the high 44.99 back on the 26th of December. So there could be somebody big sitting at the point at 45 bucks. So keep that in mind too. Also, somebody giving an opinion here too, though, on the buy side. 112,000 shares bidding at 44 and a quarter in the New York book. So if this
Oh,
goes to pull back, that's going to be support if that order stays in the book.
they're putting
So
that in now. They're putting that in now with a 43, 47 high. Oh
yeah.
yeah, they're putting a 44. Yeah, I'd buy it 100,000 at 44 and a quarter when it's trading
That's what it
45.
says. It's a 112,000 share order
Wow.
sitting in the book at 44 and a quarter. You can subscribe to that information. New York book. That was never public information years ago. They made all that public probably back in like 2006, I think it was, where you
Dennis,
can subscribe to that data. It's cost me, I think, $60 a month or something.
will
But
you
I
cancel
use
your
it, man.
Dow
I become
order?
an
Will you cancel your Dow order? You're not going to buy that many shares there.
You think he's going to cancel that order before?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
got to watch that though. That's called layering, and that's called you can go to jail for stuff like that. So you can't put big orders, 100,000 shares, and then cancel them. You can always do if you did it once, maybe it'd be okay. But if you do start doing that stuff again and again and again, that could be considered trying to manipulate the market.
If you
So
cancel it immediately, though, right? I mean, don't you have a little bit of time? I mean, it's not.
oh, if you put 100,000 share order and canceled a second later, you could just totally say it could be an accident. I mean, somebody just accidentally sent that order or something. I don't know who that makes an accident sending a 100,000 share order, but I mean stuff does happen. But if you're sitting orders out there, and we've seen this before, when you see firms find for this all the time, where they're putting big orders out there in the New York buck prior to the market opening, trying to manipulate the pre-market price and then canceling them before they open, that obviously can be layering. So that's an issue, obviously. So you don't want to be doing anything like that ever. So you never want to put in the whole rule of thumb I always say to traders is never put in an order that you really don't want to be filled on because the SEC is cracking down on stuff like that. So if you're putting orders in there like if you're putting big buy orders in order to sell the stock, that's kind of layering. So that's where you can get into some trouble.
Okay,
Gotta
yeah,
watch. You gotta watch it. They're really cracking down on
Big
anything
Brother.
manipulative.
Big Brother's
But I
watching
think that
you.
order is real. I think the guy's sitting there and he's like, I like this now. This is sitting up there, pulls back 44 and a quarter. I'm gonna buy some. Some big institutions showing their hand and saying they want to own it. But I don't know. Maybe it doesn't even get down there. It looks like 45. They're trying to hold this thing above it.
Okay, have we covered all the earnings and new stocks?
We got most of the earnings. We haven't really done much of the upgrades and downgrades, though. So let's go into a few of those here. We got, first of all, this is an upgrade, but a price target raise on Google. It seems like every day we come in, somebody's raising their price target on Google. Today it's Credit Suisse raising their price target up to 14.50. So we're looking 300 points higher. Stock's trading up $8 on that right now. Google making new highs here once again. Actually, the high on Friday was 1160, so it's just butting up against that right now at 1159.30.
Okay, pre-market high here. So a nice round number of 1161. So that is going to be the high here, at least in the pre-market. We pulled back from that a little bit, but can someone tell Google that not only do I have a new watch, but I already bought a new pair of shoes? So they don't have to, like, every time I go to Google Chrome, they don't have to show me a pair of shoes that I already bought.
I'll send him an email there for you, Joel. Stop spamming Joel with shoes because he's already bought them. You're
Okay,
wasting your advertising.
exactly.
ExxonMobil downgraded here today. Bank America, look at this coming out and downgrading XOM this morning, trading down 30 cents right now. 98.80 went out at, or 99.16 it went out at. It's trading 98.80 right now.
And what's their basis for the downgrade?
Brent, you got the analyst report. We'll let Brent go hunt that down on the XOM. So I didn't actually dive into the details, but Brent can dive into the details.
Let's see here. But looking at ExxonMobil in the pre-market here, We got a quick dip down to 98.51, but we've recovered to the 98.80 level. I'm not putting a lot of stock in here in this Bank of America downgrade. I just can't see this thing. Look at this support here, just above the $98 level on the dailies. That's sticking out like a sore thumb. 98.27, 98 and a quarter here. So I'm still on the ExxonMobil train to the upside here. I think there's going to be host of buyers in the low 98s.
And that might be a good call, Joel, because it seems to be more or less of a valuation call here from Bank of America. According to the report over the past year, Exxon has been the preferred super major, and the analysts continuing to lead towards the assumption that shares are the best placed defensive stock in this narrow peer group. So it just seems like sort of kind of commenting on the run up on in Exxon shares.
J Dot is the Mastercard. It's not a reverse split. It's just a regular split.
10-for-1 split.
Yeah.
It's
A
a
reverse
10-for-1
is when you
split.
do the AIG thing and you send your price higher. Now this is sending the price lower. Well, it's only going to take it down to the $80 level. Dennis, how do you play these stocks ahead of splits like this?
I'll tell you, typically what happens is the stocks actually usually will run up a little bit ahead of the day. Is it Wednesday? Is that the actual day that it goes X split? Is that what it is, J Dot? I believe it is. I know it's this week. And so basically, if you hold the shares over Tuesday, you're going to get entitled to split. Goes X, and then obviously drops the price down to $82 would be the equivalent right now, because it's going to go 10 for one split. Usually these things tend to be strong the day before, and actually they tend to open higher. And I'm saying that just at the 9:30 open on Wednesday. If it is Wednesday, they tend to open higher there as well. Often that's just for whatever reason. Some people might leave orders and not realize it's split. They leave $800 orders in there. It's going to push the price up further too. So a lot of times what you see, oh, he's saying it's Friday? No, I believe it actually is this week, though, the reverse split. So they do tend to be, from a statistical standpoint, they tend to open higher on the day that they go X split, and then they tend to drift down after that. So sometimes it's the best play to sell the open the day if it's opened up. Let's say, if it goes out at $82 or 820, just for example, it was supposed to open at 82, might open at 83 or something, and then give some back. So keep that in mind on MasterCard.
And if you would have, when they came out with that announcement that they were splitting, and I think they also increased the dividend, that was a gap and go. Look at that. Then that day back in December, the news came out and it gapped up from 769.10. Then the next session made a low at 789.47. Then tacked on another 60, 70 points here. I guess my only other question with this is, is there any, let's say, a company or an institution had, a large position in this, X amount of shares, and now they're getting 10 times the amount of shares. Do they have to do any adjustments to their portfolio at all, or is it just based on the percentage of the dollar amount that they own?
Well, really, the split does nothing with it, because obviously if the stock's at 820, goes 10 for one, then you're going to get 10 more shares, but they're only going to be worth $82. So really, it doesn't do anything different other than increase the float dramatically. The whole idea, I guess, between the split is to get the stock price down to a price where maybe, some other people might be attracted to actually buy that. But I know Warren Buffett's dead set against splits. That's why Berkshire Hathaway's a $160,000 stock or $170,000 stock now, because he says splits just cost money. Really, it's just bookkeeping. Obviously got to issue more shares, and it just costs shareholders money, and he's always been dead set against it. And we haven't seen a lot of splits lately. Like, you do see the odd one, but years ago, back in the 90s and the 80s and the 2000s, stocks were splitting all the time. As they run up, they'd split. As they run up, they split again. They keep splitting. The stock, it does increase the float, though, make the stock thicker, obviously, which I think if from, a trading perspective, it's going to make MasterCard a little more liquid, which I like, because right now if you're trading MasterCard, it's just there with a 1-point spread all day or 1.5-point spread, and it's like, I don't even want to trade because I got to pay the spread. It's going to cost me $1 to get in, $1 to get out. Where when it drops to $82, it's going to tighten it up, obviously, a little bit. So it makes maybe traders a little more active in it. So it increases the volumes for the exchanges too, which I'm sure they like.
Of course.
I just pulled up the official MasterCard release back on December 10th. It looks like the distribution date for that 10-for-1 split will be today. and I believe the ex-dividend date is always one day after the distribution day on a split. So
So,
it will be
so it's
tomorrow.
tomorrow actually. Oh yeah, right. That's right.
Yeah,
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 because it's
tomorrow's
Tuesday.
Wednesday.
I'm thinking
Yep.
it's Monday again. You get me all
Haha.
confused. My days again. So exactly. So it's going to be tomorrow's the ex-dividend day. So basically tomorrow the price will go from 820 or wherever it closes down to 82 bucks. And I just tend to think a lot of times today might be a little, and it depends, I guess, if it's already crowded, if people are already speculating that. But what really happens usually is tomorrow morning it often does open a little bit stronger, and sometimes that gets faded. So we'll talk about this tomorrow
Yeah,
morning, and we'll see if it's trading up in the pre-market and seeing if there's a potential fade play there or not.
and also, when stocks do splits like that, I mean, if you want to start getting active in it on a shorter term, day trading, swing trading perspective, you can just wait a few days for levels to shake out. I mean, because now that it's under, it'll be under $100, unless it rallies, another $20 or 200 points today. Let the numbers shake out and get some more identifiable support and resistance points, because now $800 stock, what's it move 30, 40, $50 a day is kind of hard to take a look. It did have a bad day on Friday though. Dipped down to 807.88, closed at 818.42. When you get pops like that in an issue overnight, I'd like to use the close 818.42. That'll be your first minor support point. Then you have no major support down to that 807.88 low.
A lot of other upgrades and downgrades here to talk about. Brent will probably get to them a little more, but I'll just highlight a few more here. We got
Okay.
Lululemon, LULU, getting a downgrade at
Ooh.
ISI Group. I'll fly through a few of these just because there's
Okay.
so many here today. Target, TGT, which obviously was weak there on Friday again. Stern AG's downgrading the stock here. You got Seagate, STX, getting an upgrade at Morgan Stanley, and it's trading up 80 cents. Here's an interesting one. You got Triple D getting downgraded at Credit Suisse. So let's stop on this one for a second, the Triple D stock, because there's been a lot of news here in the sector. Stocks kind of shrugged off a lot of the bad news. Obviously, SSYS warned, XONE warned. Well, Triple D's kind of shrugged most of this off, but Credit Suisse downgrading the stock here today. Brent, can you hunt down, the report there? Because they actually, Credit Suisse, are upgrading SSYS today and downgrading Triple D. So I'm just interested in why they're doing that.
I'm on it.
Okay, in the meantime, 87.52 was the low that you hit in the pre-market. You got a little bounce off that level, finding resistance just under 88.50 at 88.40. So those are a couple early parameters to look at. Looking at the dailies, though, if you're looking for major support, back last week when those other companies were issuing guidance and warnings, got down to 85.51 and 84.07. So those two levels are going to be the major support. Below that, then look out, you're going to $80.
All right, so it looks like this one was kind of a direct pair trade there. Analyst at Credit Suisse saying that the Triple D premium to Stratasys is, quote, unjustified given a similar scale of the companies. And the analyst also saying that Stratasys has a superior position in both the consumer and prosumer markets.
Oh, there you go. So they're liking SSYS and they're not liking Triple D here.
I don't know.
Interesting.
That's tough. I mean, to me, they're like similar companies here. So I don't know if you're playing this. I guess you're playing this as a pair trade that really messes things up for you. But looking at this, the SSYS, I'd like to see what happens here in this whole 124.97 to 125.56 level. Last three highs in that area, you had the gap down from the 130 area. So until it clears that 125, I don't know. Just might be fading this a little bit. And Dennis, before we close out the show and go to Joe, I just wanted to talk about your target option and stock trade from Friday, which you ended up turning a loser into a winner.
On Target, yeah.
Yeah, because you took a shot on the weekly 60 puts, and it gave you a little bit of daylight here. It got near the average daily range on the day. So why don't you just explain what you did on that a little bit, and how you kind of made a few shekels off really which was a losing trade.
Well, you know how I play those weeklies, and I play them usually from the lottery ticket perspective. We know Fari's on here. He talks about the lotto strategy. I call them lottery tickets. But basically, on the weekly, sometimes Thursday or Friday, I'll take a shot. The target was weak going in, so I was looking for the momentum to the downside to continue. Stock was trading up around 60, 80. I bought the 60 puts, I think, on Thursday afternoon for 3 cents. So literally did not pay hardly anything for it. Obviously, I'm going to let those expire worthless, or they're going to get down there. Well, stock, the weakness did continue there. It got down. I kind of had the whole scenario in my mind that they were probably going to take it through 60, try to hit some stops, and then rally it up. And that's actually exactly what it looks like what happened there. Took the stock through 60. So what I did was I actually didn't, the stock went down to 59.88, I think. And I was looking at this and I'm thinking, well, I think it's going to go back up through 60. But instead of just flat out selling my puts, I could have sold them for 15 cents. I bought the stock against the puts. So I had 20 puts. I didn't have like a lot of them, but I bought 2,000 shares of Target then, though. So now I'm long 2,000 shares of Target. I've locked in the 9 cents. I've locked in a little gain. If the stock continues to go down at that point, well, I'm just going to my puts will be exercised and I'll be out and I'll turn my 3 cents into 9 cents because I bought it at 59.91. I think in 59.92. But the stock started rallying then. So then I was able to lag out and I sold some stock at 60.05. I sold some stock at 60.10. I sold some more stock at 60.20. So and then I'm out. So now I've actually made money on the scalp on the stock, and I still have my puts. Then the stock comes back down again. So then, and actually I missed it, and I should have did it. I could have rebought the stock at 59.90. 8 again there below, and then it rallied at the end of the day. So I didn't get the second trade off of it, which I could have. But you can just see how there's so many different ways to play those weeklies, especially if you have some money in your account. Obviously, if you're sitting there with a low account, you're playing those weeklies, you probably don't have the margin to be able to buy the stock. But because that 20,000, that costs 2,000 shares of Target's 120 grand. So it costs 120,000. You need worth a margin to be able to play it that way. But there's lots of different ways to play these weeklies. So even despite the stock maybe not moving that far, I actually reversed it by actually buying the stock.
Okay. All right, Dennis, thanks for staying on a little bit longer this morning, moving into the 9 o'clock hour here. So we're going to shift over to Mighty Joe Young with the morning's headlines.
Well, thank you very much, Joel. I appreciate that. Moving into today's editorial headlines from around the globe. President Barack Obama will meet with Pope Francis at the Vatican as part of a week-long European trip scheduled for March. The White House says Obama looks forward to discussing with Pope Francis their shared commitment to fighting poverty and growing inequality during their March 27th meeting. Obama also plans to meet in Rome with Italian President Giorgio Napolitano and Prime Minister Enrico Letta. Obama's trip begins March 24th and 25th in the Netherlands, where he will participate in a nuclear security summit hosted by Dutch government and meet with Dutch leaders. On March 26th, Obama will travel to Brussels for the U.S.-European Union summit with the presidents of the European Council and the European Commission, as well as meetings with Belgian leaders and NATO Security General Anders Rasmussen. The long-running legal battle between tech giants Apple and Samsung might soon be over with their agreement for mediation talks. However, Apple is now demanding for provisions on anti-cloning in their settlement with the South Korean electronics company. Apple's move for an anti-cloning provision was not its first. The Cupertino-based company also indicated this in their settlement talks during their patent infringement case for Apple's iPhone maker with HTC. Apple stated in their filing that if Samsung wants a deal, it will have to accept, as HTC did before it, an anti-cloning provision that would allow Apple to still bring lawsuits if Samsung's products resembled Apple's offerings too closely in ways that would actually be avoided by means of design around. Apple also accused Samsung of stalling the resolution for permanent injunction connected to the patent trial in 2012. Weixin is China's killer app, a highly addictive social networking tool that allows smartphone users to send messages and share news, photos, videos, and web links, much like America's WhatsApp or Line, a Japanese communications and messaging app. In the United States, a similar version is known as WeChat. Just 3 years after being introduced in China, Weixin has nearly 300 million users, a faster adoption rate than either Facebook or Twitter, giving the app a dominant position in what is now the world's biggest smartphone market. It has already stopped the growth of the messaging service of the country's biggest mobile phone company and provoked China's largest internet companies to create competing services. A version of Weixin is offered outside China as WeChat. But in the free-for-all in China, one leading social media company is not a factor. Analysts say the phenomenal rise of Weixin all but dooms any chance that Facebook will become the market leader there. In 2009, the Chinese government blocked access to Facebook without explanation. Twitter and YouTube are also blocked in China. Since then, Facebook has hinted that it may try to re-enter the market, perhaps by teaming up with a local company. Weixin's success has made that all the more difficult. And an increasing number of electric vehicle driving employees at Silicon Valley companies are finding it hard to access car charging stations at work, creating incidents of charge rage among drivers. Installation of electric vehicle charging ports at some companies has not kept pace with soaring demand, creating thorny etiquette issues in the workplace, the San Jose Mercury News reported. Peter Graf, Chief Sustainability Officer for German software company SAP, says the company's 16 charging stations are now not nearly enough for the 61 employees who drive electric vehicles. Graf says cars are getting unplugged while charging, creating animosity between employees. A charge can take as little as 30 minutes. Cars are getting unplugged while they are actively charging, and that's a problem, Graf told the newspaper. Employees are calling and messaging each other saying, "I see you're fully charged. Can you please move your car?" The company is drafting guidelines for EV driving employees. ChargePoint, which operates a large EV charging network, says companies should provide one charging point for every 2 of their employees' electric vehicles. Mondelez International today announced that it has added Nelson Peltz, CEO and a founding partner of Trian Fund Management, to its board of directors. With the addition of Peltz, the Mondelez International board of directors expands to 12 members, 11 of whom are independent and all of whom are elected annually. Peltz will also be included in the company's slate of nominees for election to the board at the 2014 annual meeting of shareholders. Verizon swung to a fourth quarter profit as it continued to add wireless customers at a healthy clip. The New York company on Tuesday posted a net income of $7.9 billion or $1.77 a share, compared with a year earlier loss of $1.9 billion or $1.48 a share. Its current results include an after-tax gain from an adjustment to its benefit and pension plans, without which the company earns 66 cents a share. Analysts on average expected the telecommunications company to post per share earnings of 65 cents and revenue of $31.02 billion, according to Thomson Reuters. Verizon, like its peers, has been feeling the competitive pressure in wireless, largely applied by smaller T-Mobile, which has introduced a series of aggressive price moves and features in a bid to win over customers. Over the weekend, Verizon made a few minor tweaks to the plan, reducing the wait time for a phone upgrade to 30 days from 6 months for customers on its Edge program who pay off at least half the cost of the phone. It introduced a cheaper $60 Share Everything plan that includes unlimited voice calls, text messages, and 250 megabytes of data. Unlike some of its other competitors, Verizon has been able to stay above the fray and hasn't suffered the kind of customer losses to T-Mobile that AT&T and Sprint have. And Michigan's Oakland County Executive L. Brooks Patterson has never been shy about his views of Detroit, and his remarks in The New Yorker have sparked familiar ire. Patterson gave a magazine reporter an extensive tour of Oakland County, one of the richest counties in the country, and offered his take on the city. "Anytime I talk about Detroit, it will not be positive," Patterson says. "Therefore, I'm called a Detroit basher. The truth hurts." And then there's some explicative in there. Patterson tells Paige Williams, "I used to say to my kids, first of all, there's no reason for you to go to Detroit. We've got restaurants out here." My parents say the same thing. "They don't even have movie theaters in Detroit, not one." Patterson went on to say, "I can't imagine finding something in Detroit that we don't have in spades here, except for live sports. We don't have baseball, football. For that, fine, get in and get out, but park right next to the venue, spend the extra 20 or 30 bucks, and before you go to Detroit, get your gas out here. You do not, under any circumstances, stop in Detroit at a gas station. That's just a call for carjacking," Patterson
Is this
said.
Brooks Patterson?
This is L. Brooks Patterson. Although, I mean, not that I'm agreeing with his sentiments, but my brother did get carjacked at a gas station downtown at McNichols and the Lodge. That's what it is.
I think he should shut his mouth.
Well, I mean,
Come on.
he's up here in Oakland County where he has a point. Everything is essentially available except for live sports.
Oh my God! Does he live in like a shell or whatever? Whatever.
I think living up here, it's easy to form the opinion that there's no purpose to be downtown for anything.
And does he say? I mean, he's talking about cities. I mean, you could say that about people living in the suburbs of Chicago. I mean, they could get a lot of things. I mean, yeah, they could get some more things downtown. But this guy, he's getting old. How old is this guy now?
I believe he is in his late 60s. We actually interviewed him once for Benzinga.
I'm buying the Brooks
gave a very
Patterson.
candid review.
I'm buying the Brooks Patterson puts.
What's it? 1939, so that would make him, what, 73?
Yeah,
74?
I'm buying the Brooks Patterson puts. I mean, he's done.
Let it be known, Joel is buying L. Brooks Patterson
Just
puts.
yeah, but we won't make a bet on it because
I'm not going to
you know,
finish
yeah.
reading his comments here because Joel is getting too upset. I can see his blood pressure rising a little bit. Let's see. Sunday's NFL game drew impressive ratings for CBS and Fox. The New England Patriots Denver Broncos AFC title game averaged 51.3 million viewers, the third most watched AFC title game ever, while the San Francisco 49ers and Seattle Seahawks NFC title game averaged 55.9 million, the fifth most watched NFC or AFC title game ever. The Broncos and Seahawks will meet in Super Bowl 48 in New York on February 1st.
Dennis
Super Bowl
made it.
49.
Dennis made an interesting observation about those two states in the Super Bowl.
Let's see. I'm channeling Alan Brockstein right now. Come in, Alan Brockstein. What are you trying to say about these two teams? Oh, that's right. They're in the pot states.
Exactly.
So look forward to a generous haze.
No, look forward to a high-scoring game.
Hey-oh.
Take the over. Take the over.
Let's see.
geez.
Yep. Today's trivia tidbit, courtesy of associate editor Jason Shubnell.
Thanks, Shubs.
He's associate editor now?
Yeah, well, I did promote him a few weeks ago,
Oh, okay.
so he wouldn't leave. In a very recent history, on this
Oh,
day,
is that what you got to do around here?
what?
You got to threaten to leave before
Well,
you
if
get...
you threaten to leave, we'll hold the door for you. On this day in very recent history in 2009, after more than 7 decades as the world's largest automaker, General Motors officially lost the title of world's biggest automaker when it announced worldwide sales of 8.36 million cars and trucks in 2008, compared with Toyota's 8.97 million vehicle sales that same year. The news wasn't all rosy for the Japanese auto giant, however, which later in 2009 posted its first ever loss as a public company. Just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, the show would not be possible without our dear friends at OptionsHouse, who will give Joel a free ride out of here should he decide to quit. Oh, no, that's not what I meant. They'll give you 150 commission-free trades based on Joel's puts on L. Brooks Patterson. There's buttons at the top, at the bottom right. If you go ahead and make a click, sign up for an account through OptionsHouse, get 150 commission-free trades just because you listened to Benzinga's pre-market info. That wraps it up for me. I'm going to send it over to my man Brent over here, who's going to share with us some of his favorite rating changes ahead of Bell.
Sup? Oh man, there's a ton today. I don't know why. I'm tracking, I don't know,
I think it's
about 35 upgrades this morning.
we're trying to break the dam from having the day off yesterday, so we
That's
just
a
had
very
an
good call.
influx of rating changes today.
Yes, very good call. Dennis was highlighting the number a little bit earlier, and yes, it is true. Over 30 upgrades about. This is rough. Around 20 downgrades, so maybe a little bit more bullish this morning. I'm going to hit you with a couple of the top upgrades, downgrades. Barclays upgrading shares of Marriott to overweight this morning. JP Morgan upgrading shares of, I wrote this one down, I think this one's Altera. Let me check this one really quick. Yes, JP Morgan upgrading Altera, that is Alpha Lima Tango Romeo to overweight. Raymond James upgrading shares of Select Comfort from outperformed to strong buy this morning. Watch that mattress space on that. Also could take a look at MFRM, that is Mattress Firm. And what's the other one? TPX is Temper Sealy. These ones should be moving on that call this morning. Gap shares getting an upgrade, a few notch upgrade at Stern Agee, upgrading the stock from underperform all the way to buy. Keith Bruyette and Woods upgrading shares of Comerica from underperform to market perform this morning. Shares of Seagate getting an upgrade over at Morgan Stanley. Firm now rates the stock with an overweight rating. Shares of Sarepta Sandy Romeo Papa Tango upgraded to buy at Needham. And then an analyst at Credit Suisse making a pair call on those two big 3D printing players. Stratasys getting an upgrade to overweight, or excuse me, actually that's an outperform rating, and then shares of Triple D 3D Systems getting a downgrade to neutral at Credit Suisse. What else we got here? A Piper Jaffray analyst upgrading shares of Boston Scientific to overweight this morning. Alcoa getting an upgrade to equal weight at JP Morgan. Western Digital, who has earnings. Western Digital isn't a who, it's an it. So I'm going to say that again. Western Digital, which has earnings, I believe, this week, getting an upgrade over at BMO Capital. Firm now rating that stock with an outperform rating. And then the last one, on the top upgrades side of things, SunTrust Robinson Humphrey upgrading shares of Chesapeake Charlie Hotel Kilo from neutral to buy, setting a $35 price target on that stock. Couple of the top downgrades this morning. We did talk about a downgrade over at ISI Group on Lululemon. Firm moving the rating a couple lower from looks like strong buy previously to neutral. ISI moving to the sidelines on Lulu. Needham, both Needham and Nomura downgrading shares of Time Warner Cable, that is Tango Whiskey Charlie, this morning. Solar City shares getting a downgrade over at JP Morgan. Firm now rates Solar City with a neutral rating. T. Rowe Price getting downgraded at Citigroup. Barclays downgrading shares of Warner Enterprises Whiskey Echo Romeo November to equal weight. Also at Stern Agee this morning, TJX downgraded from buy to neutral. Cowen downgrading shares of Target, slapping on an underperform rating there. That is the equivalent of a sell rating. SocGen, Societe Generale downgrading shares of Apple this morning. Whoa, mama. You want to take a look at this chart really quick, maybe, Jill? I'm not sure if he has talked about Apple a little bit earlier.
SocGen with the downgrade, huh?
Yeah.
Well, it's still traded up 82 cents here. Apple's been kind of sleepy lately here, trading in a range, got down to 530 just last week, and then bounced up to the 560 level. Came back down near the end of the week. I gotta look at right smack dab in the middle. I look at this 545 level, see if we can get back above 545. We'll go up to that 560. If not really seeing any major support until you get back to about the 530s.
And the last one on the top downgrade section this morning, drumroll please, Bank of America downgrading shares of ExxonMobil to neutral. We did talk about this one a little bit earlier. What's happening in the pre-market on Exxon right now, Joel?
The ExxonMobil one, just talked about the support in the low 98. It's just not, we're still good 79 cents away from there, but that just look at all those lows in the lower 98s here. So I'm still keeping a bullish scenario here on ExxonMobil until you get a close below 98.
And if everyone couldn't tell, we are definitely in the heart of the earnings season. Probably going to have a couple more weeks like this where you'll be getting big name companies reporting. Just a quick preview for some of the other earnings reports that you'll see this week. Everyone ready? eBay shares will be, or not shares, eBay the shares aren't reporting. eBay the company is reporting. eBay Corporation reporting today. Excuse me, that's not today. That is Thursday, I believe. Netflix will be out this week. Western Digital will be out this week. AMD, United Technologies, Texas Instruments, Tango X-Ray November. I believe that will be out this afternoon after the close. We're also going to get results out of Stryker, out of Motorola, out of SanDisk, Brinker International, that is ticker EAT, and F5 Networks. Just a few highlights from this week. And I was highlighting a little bit earlier on the show last week. Pretty light economic data week we have this week. Let me just look through my list really quickly. We actually don't have any data points today. MBA mortgage applications will be out tomorrow, but other than that, that is all. So then that means on Thursday we're going to get jobless claims. We're going to get existing home sales for the month of December on Thursday. And then we're going to also get a reading on manufacturing in the Kansas City region for the month of January, also on Thursday. On Friday, no data. So really, kind of Thursday is really the only day we'll be getting some economic data. So for all the futures, for all the broader traders out there, it's going to be a bit of a quieter week. That's about all I got this morning. Maybe
Okay.
we'll get Jake suited up here in the old headset suit. Get him over here and get you guys open for trade. We
Okay.
got about 10 minutes before the open, Joel.
Yeah, we get a good dose of Shaky Jake here. We got something to discuss about Saturday night. Big hoops game coming on Saturday night. The two undefeated teams in Big Ten
Yeah,
basketball.
well, you'll be undefeated if you guys get past Iowa.
I was
That's
just
what you
gonna
guys
say
gotta.
that. I was talking about that with
Iowa's
Dave.
looking awfully good
I
this year,
know. I
and
know.
I mean that's just because they've been perfectly healthy all year. If they have any if anyone gets injured for them, I think they're gonna have some trouble. But Ohio State dropping a fourth in a row last night to Nebraska,
Oh.
losing by 6 points at Nebraska.
Oh, that makes me
Yeah,
so sad.
it must really hurt you to see Ohio State drop in games like that. I don't know. I think they're really not living up to whatever they're supposed to be this year. I don't know.
Well, Iowa's going to have one big factor going for them on Wednesday night.
What's that?
Lisa and I are going to the game, so
Um,
they won't disappoint. Yep, yep. We didn't get season tickets, but we have tickets for like 10 of the 17 home games, so that should be fun. But we had a big 3-day weekend here. We should have a whole host of movers here. Where would you like to start?
Let's start with some of the earnings this morning. I'll knock those out. We did have Johnson & Johnson reporting EPS of $1.24 versus the $1.20 expected. Revenues came in strong as well, $18.4 billion versus expected $17.95 billion. So Johnson & Johnson, that's Juliet November, Juliet, for anyone following along on their own charts, is on the move this morning after that report. It get up about what is a 0.25%, nothing crazy, but move to the upside at least. What do you think of Johnson & Johnson?
I think Dennis is going to be really mad at me because, he talked about I was a little bit late getting in here today, forgot to take out the garbage.
Oh, man.
And so he wanted to know there was a big, fat, juicy bid for 5,000 shares in 95.90, and he wanted to whack the whole thing here. He did take a nibble on it, though, and so, Dennis, I hope you cover your 100 shares. That was probably you. I see that 95 print there. But got to really even respect now more that $96 resistance. Did get a pop up to 96.14, but the former all-time high in the issue, or still the all-time high, I guess, if you don't include the after hours, is 95.99. So keep any run back up to the $96 level. Expect some resistance. Coming down, I'd keep an eye on the pre-market low 95. That is actually lower. That fills the gap from Friday because Friday's high was 95.17. So 96 major. Oh, Dennis is popping in. He covered it 95.21. So if you say you don't hear trades on Benzinga's pre-market info, there's a 70-cent winner for Dennis. Way to go, Dennis. Go have some breakfast now.
We did have Verizon reporting as well. That's Victor Zulu for anyone following along on their own charts. EPS came in at 66 cents, beating estimates of 65 cents. Did have some strength in the revenue category too. 31.1 billion versus expected 31.04 billion. So nothing too crazy there, but they are trading up over 1% this morning, maybe heading towards that psychological $50 level. Last trade I'm seeing is at 48.88, but seems to be picking up a little bit of steam recently. Joel, any thoughts on the cell phone company here?
Kind of weird. Got a pop initially up to above $49. This morning, your trade as high as $49.50. Got a wicked pullback to 48.60. I use that 48.60 as only minor support. Looking at it from a daily range perspective, you are breaking over a double top here, 48.66 and 48.69. So, yeah, from this area, it's a low risk buy off the open if you're banking on that double top. Coming up on resistance, I only see minor resistance above 49. You had a 49.07 high. And then if you go back, you've got several highs between 49.35 and 40. So a couple well-defined areas in that. And then we also want to take a look at its partner in crime, AT&T, see if it's getting any kind of boost off the earnings from them. It did initially spike up to the $34 level. The last two highs, actually the last three highs between 34 even and 34.08. So you really got to respect that resistance there at the 34.08 level. In AT&T after that, you got a nice run up over 30 up to 34.50, and we were talking about this one too. Is kind of you had the ex dividend, people buying it into the dividend, had to gap down the dividend. Everyone that was playing it short term for the dividend play got caught, puked their guts out, and now it's coming back into that area. So a lot of resistance, a lot of people waiting for this thing to get back up between 34.5 and 35.
Well, we will see what happens with that on today's session. Another one we want to take a look at is the Travelers, the Dow component insurance company here. Tango Romeo Victor, for anyone on their own charts there. They just crushed on the bottom line and top line here. EPS came in at 268. The street was looking for 217, while revenues came in at 6.74 billion versus the expected 5.46 billion. So they beat by over $1 billion on the top line. Travelers is doing fairly well on that. Tango Romeo Victor, for anyone looking at their own charts there. But Joel, it's kind of bidden down, or not bidden, but offered down at 0.2% here, so a couple of pennies. Any thoughts here? What's going on with that?
I have no idea. We talked a lot about this during the earlier part of the show for you guys that got out of bed early. Spiked all the way up over $90 in the pre-market, got up to $90.50, and then turned around here, and now it's all to come back all the way down to the major support area here. I tell you, if this thing, and now it's trading lower, this thing, Dennis gave it a little bit more wiggle room going back to the November lows at 86 here. But just a critical level for this stock. It got the pop off the news, but now it's come down. If this thing doesn't, right out of the gate, pop back, hold this 86.50, get back above 87. Actually, someone's bottom ticking. Someone did not see something. Maybe they think that this is such good earnings this time that they'll never be able to beat it. But now it's down, cranking on that $86 level here. So, yeah, this is a really interesting chart. Could be a major breakdown. If we break down below this $86 level, look out. You might not be seeing much until 84.
It's the same thing we saw with Goldman Sachs last week. Absolutely,
exactly.
Knocking it out of the park. I mean, granted, both of these companies, the revenue and the EPS figures are a little misleading because they're more in kind of a diluted business where your technical EPS isn't exactly what you want to watch. There's other statistics, but I mean, when you're beaten by $1 billion on the top line, it's tough to argue that was a bad quarter. But traders don't seem to be too happy. Maybe it's just some people taking some money off the table, but definitely going to keep an eye on Travelers for today. That's probably also going to kind of be a little bit of a lag on the Dow if there's not any move in Travelers. Joel, I don't know if do you have any thoughts on the Dow right now? Because I mean, obviously we're getting a little strength in the markets this morning, but with
I have absolutely no thoughts on that meaningless indicator. There's only one thing in town. That's the diversified S&P 500 stocks, as opposed to 30. 30. Oh, let's take this out. Let's take that out. And
I hear you. Yeah.
And here's a real smart thing that the Dow did. They took out Goldman Sachs, or no, they took out Bank America and they put in Goldman Sachs. So if they would have left Bank America in and not put Goldman Sachs, I don't know. Just don't understand that. S&Ps, there's only one number to keep an eye on here, and that's 1846.50. That's the all-time high. There's no other resistance in the market up to that level. Let's see if we can go up and test that and break out to new horizons. You got to 46.50 on the last trading day of 2013, and then you hit 45.75 one day last week. Actually, that was last Tuesday. So that's your target on the upside for the all-time highs.
Kind of moving over to another earnings report for a company that's a little close to home for us is Delta Airlines. They may not be headquartered here, but they do have a major hub in Detroit. EPS came in at 65 cents versus 63-cent estimate, with revenues coming in at 9.08 billion versus expected 9.02 billion. So Delta, that's Delta Alpha Lima for anyone following along on their own charts, did beat on the top line and bottom line there, and they're trading up almost, was that 4.5% almost in the pre-market here. Breaking above $32, looking maybe at $32.50 here. Any thoughts, Joel?
Just hit $32.54, trading up 4% here. I mean, a minute or two away from the open here. So this is one of the, you got a stock that is making, busting out, major breakout here. What were the other two highs here that you had pulling up the $32 level? 32.30. That's where we're trading. That was a former high of the move here. I don't know. I think you're going to see some resistance here between the 32.30 and the 32.54 level. Just a little bit too much too fast here for Delta.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that one on today's session, along with some of the other airlines. We did have another couple of companies reporting. I'm going to knock out real quick. Did have Halliburton coming in this morning at 90 cents. Street was looking for 89 cents, while revenues came in at 7.64 billion versus expected 7.56 billion. Halliburton, that's Hotel Alpha Lima for anyone looking at their own charts there. Defense contractor here doing all right, up almost 1% on the news, holding strong above that $50 level. I guess, had they missed, you could have broken through a psychological level there. But
did they get out of oil?
What's that?
Did they get out of oil?
Oh, maybe. Sorry, early more. Yeah.
They're more diversified.
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe I'm accidentally diversifying Halliburton by mistake.
This is an interesting one because you are in the pre-market. You did get a little bit higher here, close to the $52 level. Got the 51.95, but you did pull back here. So let's look at it on the context here of the daily chart. You had a high on Friday at 51.36. You go back a few trading sessions ago, you had a high at 51.43. So you got to have that area, respect that area as resistance. Support, if you fall under the $51 level. The close on Friday was 50.66. And Dennis, Johnson & Johnson opens flat. Absolutely flat after trading up to 96 in the pre-market. Actually, it traded under the $95 level off the open, 94, 93, 94.75 low. So see if we can get a pop. And I just have to take a look here before you go on to your next thing here at Travelers here. Is the stock, is it open for business yet? Because you're talking about a major long-term support level. You got a huge move in the pre-market. Opened up at its high of the day so far, 86.35. Did slip under 86, making new lows here, 85.69.52. They are taking this thing out to the woodshed here. No major support coming in to the $84 level. So what a disappointment. Did you say they beat by $1 billion?
1.28 billion actually.
Wow, good thing they didn't beat by $2 billion.
Yeah, right. Now, real quick, I did see a headline just come across. Maybe if you want to switch over to the S&Ps real quick, the IMF just raised their global growth outlook from 3.6% to 3.7% in 2014. Not sure if this is going to have an effect on the S&P, but sometimes these more macro calls, especially from an agency like the IMF, can make a move. Do you see anything on the S&Ps right now?
No, I'm just watching Travelers fall out of bed here. It's about to go under $85.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, it just dropped another stick since we started
What?
this. Yeah.
Wow.
It's right here, 85.01 low.
Jeez.
I'm not sure if there's. Let's see what Chubb is doing here.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, because that stock was sitting on a cliff too. And let's see what's happened here. 85.01 last print here. Boy, you would have had to been quick to get these things off the open. Chubb is holding up okay.
Mm-hmm.
That opened up at near the low and has rallied. So this just seems to be sector present or affecting the Travelers here. We'll see if it gets down to that $84 level today, but that would be quite a disappointment for holders of that issue since it had such a good look at that 84.75, 84.53. Holy man.
My, we got some action here.
Did someone resign or something? Or what happened here?
I'm going to roll over to the Bloomberg terminal here and see if I can find anything.
Yeah, 84.51 here. Let's go out to the dailies in this issue to see where last time here we traded down. You do have some lows in the issue. 84.20 and 84.37 were your lows on October 14th and 15th. So another 25 cents away from there from a potential support level. But what a terrible day for Travelers. Boy, I feel sorry for owners of that issue, especially with good earnings. But
yeah, I don't get it. I'm looking at the news feed. I don't see anything that would jump out at me as this is really bad news. I mean, this just kind of reminds me of, when we get an economic indicator that's better than expected and the market goes down because they're worried about tapering. I mean, or I don't know,
I
are the traders worried that we're gonna taper on travelers now?
I I I don't know. I just have to see the thing when you don't get the follow through. But one thing, as opposed to the Travelers, which is going to be at 80, coming up and then the support at 84.30 real quickly here. The BlackBerry though is getting the follow through, huh? They had that Canadian move when the markets were closed. Got a government contract. Now you're above the $10 level. Opened at 990. 985 low. Now you're trading, just made a 1014 high. This is the highest level that BlackBerry has traded at since mid-September when it traded in the upper 10 handle. I guess if you're long this thing, it's good. If you're short, you're getting laid out. I'd just be careful if it came back down under the $10 level that you might get some selling. But BlackBerry continuing on that strong move.
Yeah, no kidding. After the close, I want to preview a couple of names that are coming in. We're expecting AMD to report, Texas Instruments, Cree, and Xilinx. So a couple of big names after the close, but we're not going to have as high of a density as we did this morning. So we do want to keep an eye on AMD. Going to be real interesting, especially with that Intel report last week. I would be really interested if AMD manages to beat. If you look at, they're expected to bring in 6 cents this quarter. The same quarter last year, it was a loss of 14 cents. So they're expected to turn around quite a bit. Now, if they beat there with Intel not doing so hot last week, it could be kind of interesting.
Yeah, little shift in the money in the sector. Intel was on Friday, right? Cause remember,
Yeah, I believe it's
because
Friday.
we were both commenting that they Intel had the big run up into earnings, a couple upgrades, really juiced it, and then they came out with punk numbers. But remember talking about that with you during the day. It came down to support in the pre-market down to like 25 and a quarter, and then came into that area again during the day, and then rallied off it. AMD did the same exact thing here. So let's see if they can get a little bit of follow through and see what AMD does with its earnings.
Another stock that we've got on the move this morning is Solar City, moving down almost 2% here. So nothing too crazy for Solar City. I'm kind of looking into some news. This could just be sentiment on it, but whenever we get the solars moving like this, it's picking up momentum right now to the downside, right as we started talking about it. But Joel, I don't know, maybe we want to run through some of the solar stocks real quick because they do pick up momentum and they kind of feed off of each other. Solar City down roughly 2% right now.
That was the old Goldman Sachs a few weeks ago. What they downgraded for solar and up Solar City and kind of rode that wave here. Made a high of the move way back at 79.86. Now looking at the dailies here, now that is a daily chart. You opened right. You opened 72.88, had a rally, couldn't get to the low from Friday at 74.45. So I'm looking from the low on Friday, 74.45 to 75.11. That was a close on Friday. That to be resistance. If we come back down under this 72.63 level, you need to go all the way down to 69.50 to fill the gap here. So it looks like the euphoria from that Goldman upgrade is starting to wear off here. See a little bit of profit taking. I don't like to see a stock go from 61.17 to 79.86 in 1, 2, 3, 4 trading sessions. It's just not a sustainable technical pattern.
Another one I want to take a look at is we are getting some action in the 3D printers this morning. Credit Suisse brought out a report downgrading 3D Systems to a neutral from their outperform rating. They held their price target at $90 though. Interestingly enough, they decided to raise Stratasys to an outperform rating from a neutral, so presenting a little bit of a pair trade here. Now, what was interesting to me earlier was that 3D Systems had already dropped below that $90 level right now. I'm still seeing it below there, right around $88 right now, so they're actually below Credit Suisse's price target already. And obviously we had some rough guidance last week from some of these 3D printing companies, so upgrading Stratasys at this point seems kind of interesting to me. Joel, any thoughts on the 3D printers here?
You did have a couple lows holding up just above the $90 level in 3D, 90.09, 90.10. Now you gap down below that level, and the rally back up really couldn't do much. SF Bright here piping in the downgraded JP Morgan on Solar City. Thank you very much. I don't see much until you get down to those lows from last week at 85.51 and 84. '07. So this thing needs to get back above 90. The price target doesn't look like it's going to do that today. Not real happy about playing this one from the long side, but I want to see what happened in this SSYS because this was on the other end, right? They
Yep.
were upgrading this, and maybe they had some stock to sell or something here, or maybe that. Look at this. SSYS had those tops at 125 and couldn't even get near there. Traded up there in the pre-market to 123.79. So I don't know. I kind of looking at this upgrade in SSYS as perhaps a selling opportunity in both the issues.
Yeah, they were definitely marking them as valuation calls. They weren't calling anything too fundamental on them. So, I mean, you can kind of take it with a grain of salt. But you're right. Maybe this is a chance for some people to get out that wanted to get out.
Look at this. Look at Verizon. What's the thing with companies that are having good earnings here? I mean, come on. What's
Buy
going
the
on?
rumor, sell the news. I don't know.
Look at that. You traded way up in the pre-market, tried to sniff the $49 level, got to 48.90 and vavoom here. Back down at 47.54. I guess if you're playing this from the short side here, take a look at this 47.28. That was the low on the 15th. If that doesn't hold, you'd be back under the $47. Let's just take a look at AT&T. Couldn't get back to that $45 level here. Let's take, not 45, 34. Actually nicked it right on the nose again, 34. Dennis, I don't know if there was some institutional selling there at 34, but rejected that level once again. And I don't think we've talked about travelers this much, but I just have to look at this chart here. It's taking a little slow to adjust here. Let's see. We were looking. There was a couple lows in October at 84.20 and 84.37. And what did we get to in the Travelers here? Got all the way to 83.66 here. So,
Wow.
wow, that thing has had a huge range. Now it's on the rebound here. So, if you come back down towards that $84 level, I think the buyers will be some buyers remorse that did pick it up when it was. That's what you have to do with these stocks. You got to buy them when they're going straight down and some when they're going straight up because they reverse. And speaking of reversals, looking at the S&Ps here, made a new high from the pre-market trading at 1844. Now we're a quick 3 points off that level. You're not finding any support in the market until you get down to the close. Maybe we'll look at the high from Friday here to see, call that a minor support point because that would fill the gap. Let me see what I should remember what the high was from Friday. The high for Friday in the S&Ps was 1842.75. So we did fill the gap here. Coming back on the upside, 1844 is shy of that all-time high of 1846.50.
You know, another one I want to take a look at real quick. I know you guys were talking about it briefly earlier was Apple. There's a lot of analyst action on it this morning. SocGen downgrading it, and then Susquehanna naming it to its top ideas list. We also had a note from Morgan Stanley that stated they expect the company's market share to rise 28% in value from 20% last year. So that's like total market share as dollars wise rather than percentage. They're expecting it to rise to 28% of the world dollar value versus 20% a year ago. So kind of interesting mix of news here for Apple, especially with China Mobile coming online last week. We haven't really. You would think China Mobile was a big catalyst to the upside. This being an absolutely huge deal for them, but there wasn't a whole lot of action last week. Joel, any thoughts on Apple?
Well, if you were trying to buy at the 540 level ahead of Friday's low, 539.90, didn't quite get there. Now you're getting a nice pop. No major resistance. Friday's high was 552. But I'd like just to point out in this chart here, I mean, it's not a major retracement, but you went to 530 to 560 probably very quickly and came back down. So for me, 545 is a big intraday level for Apple. If it holds above 545, I think I'd still be inclined to pay it from the long side. If the market continues to sell off, you break below this 545 level, come closer back down to those lows at the 540 level.
Another one that we have had moving this morning a lot is Alcoa. Actually, Alpha Alpha is a ticker there. J.P. Morgan upgrading it to an overweight while bumping that price target to
Oh,
$15.
man, oh, man.
Check it out in the market right now. We're up over 5%. Wow, look at that.
Yeah, if you were fading the pre-market action in that, too bad for you. Now knocking on the door at $12. Has to be some institutional size there, but boy, a lot of momentum going. If you're using 12 as a target, then go ahead and get out here. But this is a huge move for Alcoa, and also it's like the street is like the opposite because they hit that stock right when it had bad earnings, got it under $10, and now they're rallying the daylights out of it off a couple
Man.
upgrades. Alcoa hasn't traded at these levels back in September of 2011. The high was way up there at 1288. Don't think, not going out on a limb here, but I don't think we're going to see that today. Now popping above the $12 level. So Alcoa, big surprise so far this year.
Well, Joel, surprisingly enough, it is 9:45. So, any final thoughts on the S&P before we close out the show?
Just like to see us get back over that 1844 here and take out the all-time high at 1846.50, or else I think we just might drift back down into the 1830 handle. You need to go all the way back down to what was the close on Friday. We probably had a close at 1834 even. Was that our close? So I'll look at that as a major support point, but if we have to fall back down, boy, we have to go all the way to 1834 and a quarter to get to the close. So a couple early numbers to take a look at. That's our broadcast for today. Hope it's been beneficial to your trading. We'll be back with you tomorrow.